2022 Mazda CX-30. Does Mazda make the best small crossover SUV that you can buy? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Club Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. In this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at the Mazda CX-30 and see how it compares against other small crossover SUVs in terms of its design, performance, reliability, and value for money. So to find out everything there is to know about the Mazda CX-30, make sure to stick around until the end of this video. And if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post 2 videos a week, always valuable, straight to the point car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. With the CX-3 being discontinued after the 2022 model year, the CX-30 is now the most affordable and smallest crossover SUV that you can buy in the Mazda lineup. It competes against other small crossovers like the Subaru Crosstrek, the Kia Seltos, and the Hyundai Kona, as well as the Honda HR-V and the Toyota Corolla Cross. You could also compare the CX-30 against a few hatchbacks like the Honda Civic hatchback and even the Mazda 3 hatchback, which actually shares the exact same platform as the CX-30. Now, looking at the Mazda 3 and the CX-30 back-to-back, it's not too difficult to see how the two crossovers are related. They do have a very similar exterior and interior design, the major differences being that the CX-30 does have a higher ride height, and it also has that black plastic cladding around the wheel wells for a more rugged crossover look. Not only do they have a very similar design and share the exact same platforms, but they also share the exact same drivetrains as well. As is the case with the Mazda 3, as well as the larger CX-5 crossover, you can get the CX-30 with either a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine or a 2.5-liter turbo. And in Canada, you can also get a base model with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine as well. Now, what's really nice about this 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine is the fact that it does produce a lot more power than you typically find in a lot of these small crossover SUVs. It produces 186 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, which gives it plenty of performance for a small crossover like this. And because it is a relatively large displacement engine too, it feels very smooth and quiet. It doesn't feel like it's struggling for power like some of these smaller 2-liter engines that you find on other similar crossovers. But if for whatever reason this engine is not enough power for you, you also have the option of a turbocharged 2.5-liter engine that produces 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Although this engine is fine using regular, you do get a little bit more power if you use premium. But let's face it, with today's gas prices, that's realistically not going to happen for many buyers. Either way, 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque is plenty for a small crossover like this. You just plant your foot down and yeah, it takes off extremely well. It actually feels comparable to a lot of small luxury SUVs like, say, the BMW X1 or the Audi Q3, which is quite impressive. So if you like the idea of a small SUV that gives you plenty of power, there's no question this is the one to have. If you look at other brands like Subaru, Honda, and Toyota, their SUVs have nowhere near the same level of power. The closest thing would be the Kia Seltos or the Hyundai Kona with the optional 1.6 turbo engines, but even those ones don't produce as much power as the CX-30 turbo. Having said that though, even though the CX-30 has great performance, the one thing that it's not so great with is fuel economy. Whether you go with the naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine or the turbo engine, the CX-30 is only able to achieve between 23 to 30 miles per gallon, or roughly 9 to 12 liters per 100 kilometers, which is a little bit unimpressive for a small SUV. There's no question, if you go for something else like the Honda HR-V or the Toyota Corolla Cross, you are getting much better fuel efficiency. But then again, I guess that is the trade-off for having a much more powerful, larger displacement engine. And unfortunately, Mazda doesn't offer any kind of a hybrid option either. Although the CX-30 might not be the most fuel-efficient small crossover that you can buy, I have to say that I'm more than happy to trade a little bit of efficiency in exchange for having the simplicity and mechanical reliability that you get with Mazda. Unlike other brands which not only use turbo engines across the board but also CVT and dual clutch transmissions, Mazda is one of the few brands that not only has a naturally aspirated engine but also a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. Although a trendy CVT or a dual clutch transmission might be a little bit better for efficiency, you just can't beat the reliability and the simplicity of a conventional 6-speed automatic. That's also the case with a naturally aspirated engine. Although I do like the optional turbo engine in the CX-30, having a turbo does add a lot of complexity and also adds a lot of heat and pressure to the engine, which is ultimately not great for its longevity. Although admittedly Mazda has had great reliability with its 2.5 turbo, a simple naturally aspirated engine is always best if you're the type of person who likes to buy and keep their cars for upwards of 10 to 15 years. Another area where Mazda thinks about reliability is the fact that they don't bother with an annoying engine start-stop system like you find on most other cars. I'm really not a big fan of engine start-stop systems, the way they shake the whole car every time you stop at a light, and the way they also put more wear on the engine and the starter. So the fact that Mazda doesn't bother with this feature is a huge bonus in my opinion. And that just goes to show that Mazda is a company that really cares about its long-term reliability and build quality, which is something the company is very good at. Mazdas are not only known for their performance and their reliability, they're also known for delivering a very fun and sporty driving experience too, which is something the CX-30 is certainly very good at. There's no question this is a great handling crossover. It feels very sharp and well balanced with excellent body control. This is an SUV that you'd be happy to toss around into corners and have a bit of fun with, which is something that you couldn't say of other similar small crossovers from other brands. And not only is it a lot of fun to toss around, but it's also fairly quiet and you also get great ride quality too. In terms of the ride and handling balance, this is probably one of the best small crossovers that you can buy, which is no surprise really because that's something that Mazda has always excelled at. Another area where Mazda really excels is with its interiors. Every time I get inside a new Mazda, I'm always amazed at how luxurious and upscale everything feels, especially when you compare it against other brands like Subaru and Toyota, which are nowhere near at the same level. Mazda's use of materials, the quality of the switchgear, and just the overall fit and finish are really top-notch. In addition to the really nice materials and switchgear, another luxurious touch is the fact that Mazda gives you a lot of choices when it comes to the colors of the interiors. Unlike most other car brands, which pretty much only give you a black interior, Mazda gives you the choice of a black interior, a light tan interior like my test car here, or you can even get a red leather interior, which is very nice. And not only is the interior of the CX-30 surprisingly luxurious, but it's also filled with a lot of great tech too. For example, you get a really nice clear digital gauge cluster, plus a really great infotainment system that comes with both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. Although you do need to control it using a dial on the center console as opposed to having touchscreen capability, it is fairly straightforward to use. This is also a very well equipped crossover. My fully loaded test car, for example, comes with great features like a surround view camera system, a great sounding Bose audio system, a full color head-up display, and even a power tailgate, which are features that you don't always find on a lot of competitors. Having said that though, the CX-30 is definitely not perfect, and one of its biggest issues has to do with the interior space. Because it is based on the Mazda 3, which is also not a terribly spacious compact car, the CX-30 just doesn't give you as much interior space in the front and rear seats as you find on some of its competitors. The back seats are especially tight, and you also don't get the largest cargo area either. If you're looking for a small crossover that gives you the most amount of interior space, then you're going to be much better off with something like the Toyota Corolla Cross or the Honda HR-V, both of which give you a lot more space than the CX-30. Another issue with the CX-30 is that it just doesn't have very good visibility either. It has very narrow windows which make it a little bit difficult to see out of, which I guess is a side effect of having that very sleek exterior design, but it is a bit of an issue. In terms of pricing, the CX-30 ranges between $24,000 to $35,000 US, or between $28,000 to $39,000 Canadian. So how exactly does it stack up against other small crossovers, and is it the best one to buy? Well, I think when you compare it against something like a Subaru Crosstrek, there's no question the CX-30 is a more well-rounded choice. It has a much better driving experience, better performance, a much more luxurious interior, and it just offers better value for the money. I think it's also a much safer choice than either the Kia Seltos or the Hyundai Kona, both of which use a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, which is part of a major safety recall. Unfortunately, these engines have a history of oil consumption, seizing up and failing, and even catching on fire, so if you're planning on buying an SUV to keep for the long haul, they're not the safest ones to go for. And finally, you have the Honda HR-V and the Toyota Corolla Cross, which are probably the closest competitors to the CX-30. Now, even against these two, I'd have to say that the CX-30 does have a much nicer driving experience with better performance, and also has a much nicer interior too. All three, however, do have a great reputation for build quality, reliability, and very strong resale value too, probably the best in the segment. So if you do want to buy a small crossover to hold on to for as long as possible with minimal repair costs, the HR-V, the Corolla Cross, and the CX-30 are the safest picks to go for. Ultimately, between these three, it's really going to come down to whether you'd rather have more interior space or whether you'd have better performance with a nicer interior and a more luxurious feel. For me, I'd rather have the sportier drive and the nicer interior, so it's going to be the CX-30 for me. But then again, you can also get these exact same qualities with the Mazda 3 hatchback too. Compared to the CX-30, the Mazda 3 hatchback has the exact same engine and transmissions, the same all-wheel drive system, the same interior, and pretty much the same driving experience too. And you get all of that sameness for a lower price too, so financially it really is the smarter one to go for. That being said, the Mazda 3 doesn't have the high ride height and that SUV body style that most buyers are looking for. So if that's really important to you, then the CX-30 is the one to have. So let me know what you think of the 2022 Mazda CX-30. Would you buy one over a Mazda 3 or some other small crossover SUV instead? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also check out some of my other videos by taking a look at these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.